Welcome back to Adobe Photoshop CC. In this tutorial, we're going to cover the free transform tool and all the options. So I have this 3D scene I created in Maya, basically rendered out these objects, these chess pieces. And I have this little window here, or this another image of the chess pieces. And I have this word game pieces. And I was kind of thinking the game pieces might be kind of nice to scale them down and kind of put them in this little insert window here. So in order to do that, I need to essentially free transform this text. You can free transform images, text, pretty much shapes, anything you have in Photoshop here in your layers. So if you go to the edit menu, here's where it's located. You have the transform, which gives you all the options here for transform, but there is a hotkey and a free transform, and then you can right click and get all these options. So I prefer doing that. So basically if I click on free transform, you get this little bounding box here, and basically if you right click, you'll see all those options inside there. We'll go over those in just a moment here, but to actually transform this image, I can move it over into place, and then I can grab a corner and essentially scale in, and it'll scale proportionally in the new version of Photoshop, which is really nice. Now in the past, you had to hold shift to maintain proportions, and then you'd have hold shift and alt or option on a Mac to scale in from the center. Now you can basically just hold alt or option and scale in from the center, and that will kind of do that. So yeah, basically get that. And basically once you have it where you want it to be, you basically can hit enter or return on the Mac, or click the little checkbox up here to accept it. Now if you didn't want that, if you didn't want to accept it, I just hit Control T to bring it up again. You can cancel out by clicking the little cancel, I call it the Ghostbuster symbol here. So that'll allow you to do that. So let's go over the options again by hitting Control T on some. Actually, let's do it with. Let's do a text here. We'll talk about the options up here. With text, the warp tool up here is kind of nice. So there's this little warp option here. If you click on it, and you'll get the options over here. So if you click in here, you can choose all these different sort of styled warps, and they'll give you the features there. And then you can basically adjust this with these sliders here, the values, basically just by dragging across the bend value here. So any of these you can try out and see if you like it. You can see the arch here. You can kind of drag and kind of have fun, you know, going one or the other. And again, if you don't like the options, just click on the Ghostbuster symbol to cancel out. So for this text, I think I'm going to leave it the way it is. I am going to bring in another image of this same image of the chess pieces here though, and accidentally grab the text. So you got to make sure you're on the correct layer. So I'm on the top layer here, and now I have this image selected. Now I can hit Control T or Command T on a Mac. Again, that's that hotkey. And then I'm going to scale in by just dragging a corner here and drag downwards. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in here and go down to flip horizontal, flip vertical. These are two little hotkeys I use a lot. Basically it flips the image horizontally, right? So you get basically a mirror image of the image there. Or you can right click and choose flip vertical, and it will be literally upside down. So those are very popular. The other ones, if you right click in here, you can choose rotation. These I don't use too much. You can rotate the image just by going to the outside and literally just rotate outside like that. So basically that's all you have to do there. And then if you right click, you can choose these options here. So you can choose scale, which is pretty much just the traditional. We have rotation. Skew, if you grab a corner here, you'll start to see what happens. There's just skews into a corner there. And any of these corners you kind of grab, right? Then you can right click and choose distort, which distort basically grabs like two on the side there, so it kind of does a slightly different distortion. Anytime you want to cancel out, you can always click on the Ghostbuster symbol again, and then again hit Control T to get back to your options. So I'm going to try this perspective, and if you grab a corner with perspective, you'll see it basically creates like this feeling like of Star Wars text basically going in perspective here. So this one's a little handy at times for certain things. You can see it's doing some weird kind of snapping there. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out again. And then I'll just hit Control T one more time. The last one I'm going to show you is how to independently do all those. If you hold the Control key and grab a corner, you basically get the option to manipulate this however you want and distort it. So that's the last one. And then now I'm going to go over the new features. So I'm going to go and cancel out here. And lastly, the free transform tool, the new options, new features are under the warp option here. So if I click on that, you'll see basically we have the traditional warp, basically, but you'll see no divisions here. So what's new about the warp is you can right click in here and choose where you want those lines to be. So for example, the horizontal lines, if you want it, you just click on it and basically just click and you'll end up with a horizontal line. So you can right click again, choose another horizontal line and basically move it along here and then click again wherever you want. And then you'll be able to warp in a horizontal fashion. If you right click, you can do the vertical basically the same way. The crosswise is really interesting. If you click on it, basically you get a cross horizontal and vertical, and you get to determine where you want those points to be. So this is a really nice feature. Basically allows you to put the warps wherever you want to manipulate the images and basically have fun distorting and literally warping and letting your imagination go forward. I find with this typically, like if I want to move shadows or to match an image, the warp tool is really great. For photo manipulation like this, it's just kind of fun to distort and make something a little more surreal. So those are all the features in the free transform tool. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Adobe Photoshop CC. Until next time, see you soon. Cheers.